Hello Year 6 and welcome to our maths lesson. So today in maths we're going to look at fractions. But before we start that we need to look at our fluency target. So this is our fluency targets for today and we're going to be looking at the value of digits. Okay, so in here on the left hand side you have got different numbers written down and there are digits in red. You need to tell me the value of the digits in red in each of these numbers. Then for number 5, you need to order those numbers from smallest to largest, okay? So remember to look really carefully at the value of the digits, okay? So start with the left-hand side and then move to the right. So give yourself a couple of minutes to answer those now. So if you want to pause this video, you can then have a go at answering them. So pause this video now and answer the questions. Okay. I hope you've had a bit of a go at answering these, so let's go through them one by one. So the first one, you've got 456,820. The digit that is in red is the 2, which is in the tens column, so that one is 20. The next one, the one that is in red is this one here. Now if you look to the left, you can see very carefully, and there's a decimal point here. So if you look to the right, this is in the tens column. So actually this one here is 1/10, okay? This one here, you've got 458.24. The 4 is the one that's in red. This one, as we've already said, is the tenths column, and what comes after tenths is the hundredths. So this is 4 hundredths, okay? This one here, we've got 2,672,137. The digit that is in red is the 7. So if we wanted to look for the value of that, we can start with the right one, which we know is the ones column. We get ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. So that one there is 70,000. Okay, if you got those right, could you please tick them? Brilliant, well done everyone. And you're all doing very super today, I'm sure. Okay, so now you need to put these numbers in order from smallest to largest. So when we're ordering them, we look for the digit to the left and we find out which has got the smallest value. You've got 1.9, 2.3, 0.75, 0.06, 11 and 6.7. We can see that there's two numbers that start with a 0. So we've got 0.75, so we've got a 7 in the tens, and 0.06, we've got a 0 in the tens. That means our smallest is 0.06. And then our next one should be 0.75. After that one, we can see we've got this one here, which has got 1.9. Now that is the smallest one that is left now because that starts with a 1 in the ones column. This is a 2. This is 11, and that has a 6 there. So we should have 1.9, and then we should have 2.3, 6.7, and 11. Could you please mark all these questions and see how many you got right? Make sure you have written it all down because I would like to see a picture of your fluency so I can see how you're doing against your fluency targets. Thank you. Okay, let's move on now. So today we are looking at equivalent fractions. Let's make that bigger so you can read it. So we're exploring equivalent fractions using models and concrete representations. So we're looking at equivalent fractions have the same value as each other. So equivalent fractions are equal, they have the same value, okay? We need to multiply and divide the numerator and denominator to find equivalent fractions. So in this lesson, using your number facts and using your times tables is incredibly important. And you need to be able to calculate an exact amount from equivalent fractions. Okay, let's move on to the first bit. So, spell that slightly. What is an equivalent fraction? So an equivalent fraction, as we've just said, is something that two fractions are equal to each other, okay? And we can use our times table facts to be able to check that. So if you think of any examples, I've written one here. So I've got 1/3. Now 1/3 is my fraction, then I was finding a fraction that was equivalent to it. So the rule with fractions is if you want to find another equivalent fraction, then all you need to do is whatever you do to the numerator, which is the top number, the number that is at the top of your fraction, you must do the same to your denominator. Okay, so you need to do the same to the bottom number, which is how many it's out of. So this is 1 out of 3. So we're going to do the same to both. So if we times them both by 2, so 1 times by 2 gives me 2. And then 3 times by 2 gives me 6. That's 2, 6. Both of these are equivalent fractions. Now, if I was wanting to, I could have a look at a different one. So I could think, right, well, if I want to find another equivalent fraction and I know that whatever I do to the numerator, I must do to the denominator, then why don't I times them both by 10? And if I times them both by 10, sorry, my board writing is going to be really bad, I would have 10 30ths, which are which is equivalent to 1/3. You could, for example, say, well, let's times them both by 5. So if we times 1 by 5, we get 5. Times 3 by 5, we get 15. So 5/15 is the same as 1/3, okay? Now, a good way, I think Daisy's come to help us with our maths work. And then a good way of double checking it if you're not sure is if you divide them again, you should get back to the original fraction. So for example, with my 10/30ths, if I divide them both by 10 again, I get 1/3, which is the exact same. So we know that they are both equal, they are equivalent, they have the same value. Okay, let's move on. So now you can see, I don't know if my picture is in the way of that. Let me move my picture. Okay, so what fraction of the shape is shaded? So you can have a little bit of a think now, and you can pause this video to have a go at this one on the left. So can you pause the video and look at the fraction on the left, and on your piece of paper, could you write what are the two fractions that you can see on the left? Okay, now you've had a little bit of a go, I hope you've realised that this one on the left is 1/2. And we know that because there's two pieces here. Our shape is split into two pieces, 1, 2. And one piece is blue. So we've got one out of the two pieces is blue, which is 1/2. Okay, so half of that shape is shaded blue. Now this one, if you count them up, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you've got 8 pieces. So this shape is split into 8 pieces. Now, how many of those pieces are blue? Well, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So you've got 4 out of 8 pieces that are blue. Now, you should be able to recognize just by looking at them that these fractions are equivalent. They look the same. Half of this shape is shaded in, and you can see if you follow this pen here, both of these are the same size, and this shape here has also got half of it shaded. So let's just double check to make sure we're sure. So what have we done to the 1 to get to 4? Well, we times it by 4. What do we do to the 2 to get? What do we do to the 2 to get to 8? We times by 4. So 2 times 4 equals 8. So that shows us that they're both equivalent. Now we can also do this the opposite way. So if we did the 4 here, 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And that shows us that they're both equivalent. Would you like to have a go at the one that's on the right now? So please pause the video and have a look at the one that is on the right. Okay, so let's go for it together. So this one here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And 3 out of 9 are shaded in purple. That gives you the fractions of 3/9. Now this one here, you have got 1 out of 3. That gives you the fraction of 1/3. Okay, so if we had a look like we did before to double check if they're equivalent, let's see what happened to 3. How did we get from 3 to 1? How do we get from 3 to 1? Well, we divide by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Now, if we do the same to the denominator, 9 divided by 3, it's a bit tricky writing on the board, sorry. 9 divided by 3 is 3. That shows us that they're both equivalent. So not only can you check the fractions this way, but also if you've got a representation like this, you can look at the picture to see if they look the same value. And if you look at these very carefully, you can see, if you follow my pen, that this bit here is the same size as this bit here. So even though you've got 3/9 here, 3/9 is the same as 1/3, okay? Well done. Let's move on to our next question. So this question here, ooh, my face is in the way. Okay, Eva uses the models and her multiplication division skills to find equivalent fractions. Good on Eva, eh? So she's using this method to find equivalent fractions to 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4, where the denominator is 16. So she's using the denominator of 16 for all of them, but she's seen how the fractions change. So you can see here, she had 1. She's got 1 here out of 4, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So she's got 1/4 here. And then on this one, she's got 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 4, 8, 12, 16. So she's got 4 out of 16. I think I'm getting better at writing on the board though. So you've got 1/4 and 4/16. So she's using this method here. So she's written, and this is what we did on the previous slide actually. She's got 1/4 here is equal to 4/16, and she's put a little arrow here, and she's shown that you've times the 1 by 4 to get 4, and you times the 4 by 4 to get 16, and this is shown that they're equal, meaning that they're equivalent. So let's have a look at the next one then. Let's move that down a little bit. So if we're saying these are equal, we have got 2/4. So how do we check if they are equal? So with this one, what do we do to the 4 to get to 16? Well, we times by 4. So therefore, we must do to the top one. What do? We, of course, as we go across, we times by 4. So 2 times by 4 is 8. So if I write an 8 there. So that shows you that 2/4 is equivalent to 8/16. So let's have a look at the second one then. You've got 3/4, and then you have got something over 16. So I want you to have a go now on your whiteboards. On your pieces of paper, I want you to pause this video and have a go at that. So what would 3/4 be as an equivalent fraction if it was over 16? Okay, I hope you've had a little go at that. So, as we said before, we have times here, or multiplied, sorry, by 4. So we've done 4 times 4, which is 16. So we need to do the same to 3, so we need to times it by 4. Multiply it by 4. 3 times by 4 is 12. So 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, so we can see now that 3/4 is equivalent to 12 over 16. So let's see the last one then. Who can have a go at the last one? Can you please pause my video and then have a go at 4/4? What would that be equivalent to if it's over 16? So pause the video and have a go. Okay, let's have a look at it together then. So some of you might have worked out straight away actually that this fraction here is what we call a full fraction, and that means it's actually equivalent to a whole one, because we can see that the 4 as the numerator is the same as the 4 on the bottom, which is the denominator, which means it's a whole one. So that might have helped you without doing any sort of calculations. But let's just go through it as we have done all the others. So we know that we're timesing this one by 4. So we're timesing the 4 as the denominator by 4 to make 16. So now let's do the same to the numerator. So we times this one by 4. And 4 times 4 is, of course, 16. So you can see that these are both equivalent. They are both one whole one. Okay. Question then. So what fractions are these pizzas divided into, and how do you know that these are equivalent fractions? So we've gone through quite a few examples together. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to pause this video, and I'd like you to have a little go at doing these questions. So pause the video and have a go at these 2 questions here. Okay, so what are these fractions of these pizzas divided into? Well, this one here is 1 half. So you've got 2 pieces, and you've got 1 piece here, which is pepperoni, my favorite, and then you've got another side, which is blank. So you've got 1 half of the pizza. This pizza has been split into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, and you've got 2 out of the 4 left. So we're going to put the fraction as 2/4. This one here. So this one here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you've got 4 out of 8 pizzas. So you've got 4 apes here. Sorry, my dogs are being irritating. So you've got 4 out of 8, 4 apes here that are still pizza. Sorry. So we've got a half, 2/4, and 4 apes. And it says, how do you know that these are equivalent fractions? So how do we know they're equivalent? Well, can we check them? Can we see? So what have we done to this 1 to get to here? Well, we've times it by 2. What have we done to the 2? Well, we times it by 2. And then if we look at this one, we've done the same here. So we've times both of these again by 2 to get 4 apes. So we can see they're equivalent fractions. We can see here by the picture itself, we can look at the representation, and we can see that they're equivalent because of that, because we can identify just by looking at this that this is the same size in each of these. And also we can look at what we've done to these fractions to be able to work it out. Okay, so let's look at the next question. So here we've got a different question. So Eva uses the same approach to find equivalent fractions for these fractions. How will her method change? So Eva's having another go at something different, and we need to find out how her method's changing. So straight away, you should realize something. So before, and this is the question it's talking about, because this was Eva again. Eva was going from the smaller fraction. She was going from one which is she was going from a quarter to 4/16. So she started with a smaller fraction, and she's finding another equivalent fraction, which had a larger denominator. So there was the same value still, but they had a larger denominator. So she started off with the one with a smaller denominator, and she multiplied to find the one with a larger denominator that had the same value. So they're both still equivalent. This one is different though, isn't it? Because if you look at this one very carefully, I'm sure you can see that the denominator here is larger, and we're moving from a large denominator to a smaller one. So have a think. Will we still be multiplying, or will we now need to divide? Have a think. So we're going to have to divide with this one, aren't we? Because our method is going to have to change. So here it says, how will a method change? Well, she can't multiply anymore. She needs to divide, doesn't she? She's got to do the opposite. So we're thinking now, how do we get from 12 to 3? And we're thinking about our multiplication facts here. So what do we need to do to the 12 to get to the 3? Well, I know if I divide my 12 by 4, I get 3. So 12 divided by 4 equals 3. So now let's think about this, the top one. So whatever we do to the denominator, remember, we must do to the numerator. So now we need to divide this one by 4. So 4 divided by 4 gives me 1. So that makes me 1/3. So you've got two different ones here, two other fractions. So I would like you to have a go at these. So could you please pause the video and have a little go at these two here. Right then, I hope you've had a really good little go at these two questions. So we're going from 12, so 6/12, and we're going to something over 4. So we're thinking, how do we get from 12 to 4 using our multiplication and division facts? So I know, and I hope you know too, that if you divide the 12 by 3, do 12 divided by 3, you get 4. So if we do the same to the numerator, 6 divided by 3, 6 divided by 3 is 2. Is 2 quarters. Okay, so we've got 6/12, which is equivalent to 2 quarters. I apologize, my 2 went a bit funny. Okay, and then let's look about this one to the right. You've got 12 and you're going to 2. So how do we get from 12 to 2? Well, if I divide my 12, let's think about how many 2's are in 12. We divide my 12 by 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2. 6, we must do the same to the numerator. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So it's 1/2. Okay. So we've got 6/12 is equivalent to 1/2. Okay. You might also recognize straight away that 6, the number 6 as the numerator, is half of the denominator, half of 12. And that tells you that it's half anyway. So if you look at them very carefully, because you've got this one here, haven't you, which is the same. You've got 6/12 here. 6 is half of 12, so you know that it's a half. Again, you've got 2 quarters here, which if I wanted to find a different equivalent one, would also be a half. Okay, so you can see how we're using our times table facts to help us. Right, so we're going to do these fill in the blanks activity now. I'll do the first one for you. I'll do the one on the left, and then I want you to have a go at the one on the right. So the one on the left, we've got 3 quarters. Now, there's a blank here, so we can't look at that one. So we need to not look at the numerator right now. We need to look at the denominator. So we've got 4 as a denominator, and we're going to 12. So we know that we're timesing the 4 by 3. Again, apologize for my writing on the board. So we need to do the same to the numerator. So we times this one by 3. 3 times by 3 gives me 9. Okay, so now we're looking, how do we get from the 12 to the 24? We've got 9/12, we're looking for an equivalent one, which has got 24. Well, we times the 12 by 2 to get to 24. 12 times 2 is 24, so we need to times the 9 by the same. So 9 times by 2 is 18. Okay, so now you're going to do the one on the right, okay? So it's the same again. It's obviously just different fractions. So you need to look at them very carefully and have a think. I want you to pause the video for a couple of minutes and have a go at them. So pause the video now. Okay, then let's have a look at this question. So from the numerator, we know we can't use the denominator to start off with because there isn't one here. So we can't compare them and see what's happened. So we need to start with the numerator. We're going to from 1 to 3. So I know to get from the number 1 to 3, if I'm using my multiplication facts, I'm timesing by 3. So I need to do the same to the denominator. So 3 times by 3, it gives me 9. If we look now, we're going from 9 to 18. So I know that 9 times by 2 is 18. So that means we need to do the same to 3. 3 times by 2 is going to give me 6. So it's going to become 6 over 18. Okay, let's move on. Right then, so Eva has a tube of Smarties. There are 20 Smarties in the tube. So you've got 20 in the tube, so remembering that. She gives a quarter of the tube. She gives Tom a quarter of the tube and Max 2/8 of the tube. She keeps 1/2 of the tube for herself. How many Smarties do each one of them have? This is asking you to find fractions of a number. Okay, so this is slightly different. So we're going to go through it together. So you need to find she's given a quarter. So let's start off. She's given a quarter to Tom. Okay, so we've got a quarter going to Tom. So she got a quarter to Tom. So to find a quarter, it's out of 4 pieces. Okay, it's out of 4 groups. So if you've got 20, you need to do 20 divided by 4 to find out the quarter that Tom's going to get. So what is 20 divided by 4? How many 4s are in 20? Well, it is 5, isn't it? So Tom has got 5. So Max has got 2/8. Now, if we use our equivalent fractions knowledge, what do we know about that if it's 2/8? What is 2/8 the same of? So he's got 2/8, but what is that the same as? Wonder if you've worked it out. So 2/8 is actually equivalent to, if you look at it, if you divide them both by 2, you get a quarter. So actually, Max has got the same as Tom. So he's also got 5. And then it says she keeps half the tube for herself. So we've got 5 and 5, which is 10, and it's out of 20. So how many has she got? So she's Eva, isn't she? E. So she's got a half of the tube. So a half is you're splitting the tube into 2 pieces. So you're splitting it into half. So if you've got 20, you need to divide it by 2. So 20 divided by 2 is, of course, 10. So Eva's got 10. So Tom has got 5, Max has got 5, and Eva's got 10. And we can double check it by adding it together because we've got 5 and 5, which is 10. Add the 10, which is 20. Okay, so now I want you to have a go at completing this table. So it says it's got a fraction, it's got an image, and it wants you to find equivalent to a half. So it wants you to tell you whether or not that fraction is equivalent to a half. So I would like you to have a go at pausing this video and have a go at filling this in. Okay, let's go through it. So this fraction here, you've got 2 pieces, which means it is 1/2. Is that equivalent to half? Well, yes. Okay, because it is a half. So then we've got 3/8. So let's look at this one carefully. You've got 3 out of 8. Is it equivalent to half? No, it's not equivalent to half because you can't change that number. You can't change that fraction, sorry, to make it equivalent because even if you divided it, you can't divide by 3 by 2. You can only divide that by 3. And it doesn't have a common, neither of them has a number that you can divide both by. So that one doesn't work. So let's have a look at this one. You've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you've got 6 pieces in total. Yeah, 6 in total. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That is, sorry, I've written my fractions wrong. You know, 4 over 6. But you're all thinking, Miss Farrell, what are you doing? So is it equivalent to a half? Well, let's have a look at it. We've got 4 over 6. And let's find an equivalent fraction. So if you divide both by 2. Both by 2, you of course get 2 thirds. Okay. Which is not equivalent, so that is not the same. Can you think of a different fraction then that is equivalent to a half? I can think of one, well, 50 over 100. I wonder if you could think of some and write them down on your piece of paper, and then you can send it me at the end of the lesson. Okay, so this is your work for today. So this is your circle and your semicircle sheet. So this shouldn't take you too long to complete. So I'm going to start with the circles and then the semicircles. If you're someone that normally starts on semicircles, you can just do semicircles and then I will give you the other sheet. I will also put these on the website so you can download the sheet in total if that is easier for you. So you can pause the video now and have a go at these 2 questions. Okay, so if you've had a go at circle and semicircle, I want you to now have a go at triangle and square. So you can again pause this video. If not, if it's easy for you, you can now click off this video and you can fill in the worksheet that will be on the school website. Okay, and then you've also got your pentagon questions, pentagon and your hexagon questions now on the screen. You can have a go at those now as well. Okay, so you have finished your work for today. So you can have a think back. You can go back through the video and have a look at your success criteria and think about whether or not you've met that today. Please send any work that you have completed to my email address. So if you're in Mrs. Crownshaw's class or in my class, can you send all the work to my email address, please, which is on the school website, to the elder email address. And then I'll have a look at it together and I'll send you back any feedback or anything that you might have got wrong, you might need a bit of help with. I'll be able to help you on there. So I've also got your Skillshop on the board, which I'll put next, and you can fill in your Skillshop and then I will put the answers on straight after. So your Skillshop questions are here. Please pause the video and then answer the questions and then I will undercover the answers afterwards. Okay, I hope you've had a chance to do those questions. If not, quickly pause the video. And the answers are now on the board as well. So you can now mark your questions. Please send any completed work to me on my email address and I am looking forward to seeing all of it. Thank you for all your hard work in this lesson and I will speak to you tomorrow. Bye.